I'm from a small town in the western part of Germany called Hambüren. 8,000 people, nothing to do at all. In order to see a show, you have to drive like an hour, basically. And most of the people who live there have this typical small town mentality. I guess most of them are happy with where they are and what they have. And even if they're not, then they won't admit it. And most of them won't ever get out of that town until the day they die. I have always wanted more than that somehow. I've always wanted to travel and see the world, and the idea of working 9 to 5 has always been my greatest horror. I just need constant challenges and changes of environment because I get bored very quickly. And so the very first thing I did after graduating from high school was leave and move to Berlin. I moved to Berlin to study, but what I really wanted to do was to form a band. And at that time, I had a pretty clear idea already of what I wanted to do musically. I really wanted to write music with a master plan somehow, and the music that I was writing was shaping up towards long, dense, atmospheric songs. I guess at that time I was largely influenced by the sound of Breach, the scope and vision of Neurosis, and their holistic approach to music and art with visuals and everything, and the innovation and challenge that Refused had brought into punk rock and hardcore and music in general. I had been looking for a name that would enable me to do anything musically, from really quiet acoustic stuff up until walls of raging guitars. The ocean can stand for the peaceful sunset beach scenery, as well as for the raging, shark-infested, man-eating storm sea. And that name seemed to fit perfectly in that regard. I started looking for like-minded people, passing out flyers at shows and running ads in local magazines and through the internet and stuff. And one of the first people that replied was Gerd. He applied for the vocalist position.
Im Endeffekt habe ich dann dieses Tape mitgekriegt und habe dann mir das immer wieder angehört. Die schönen Vorproduktionen mit Elektro-Drums und ultra-klinischen Gitarren. Und dann habe ich gedacht, ich probiere es mal mit Singen. Ich zeige jetzt mal, was ich drauf habe. Und das ging so dermaßen nach hinten los.
Somehow it wasn't really working out because I was looking for a screamer and Gerd was more of a singer.
Also ich war total beschissen. Ich war richtig schlecht, sodass ich mich selbst geschämt habe.
But I still felt that I kind of wanted this guy in the band regardless, you know? He was just a really, really good guy and became one of my first friends in Berlin. And so I asked him, what else can you do?
Und dann habe ich gedacht, ich kann auch Schlagzeug spielen vielleicht.
And he told me that he played in this other band, which was kind of like an experimental percussion band. They played on all different kinds of self-built instruments, built out of metal parts and pipes and, you know, like stuff they found in the streets. And so I was like, well, great, let's add a percussionist to the lineup.
Ich habe da auch am Anfang nicht viel zu tun gehabt, außer ein paar Mal auf diese alten Toms von Robin zu hauen, bei bestimmten Stellen, auf die ich dann immer so 10 Minuten warten musste.
And so the first person that joined the core lineup of this band was not a drummer, not a guitar player, not a bass player, a percussionist.
And eventually, after a lot of back and forth and long quarrels, we reached the first kind of like steady lineup of this band.
Zu der Zeit saß dann Ulf am Schlagzeug, Mickey am Bass.
Gerd on percussion, then Gunther on second guitars, Nico on vocals. Nico was a hardcore kid, just like myself. We met at a show and clicked immediately and started becoming friends.
Ich habe mir das angehört und fand es total bombastisch und super fett. Und war eigentlich von der ersten Sekunde an total begeistert davon und war für mich eigentlich klar, dass ich da meinen Part dazu beisteuern wollte.
We played together for about half a year or something like that. And somehow I wasn't really happy with that lineup, and we added 2 more vocalists. Nico was already there. We added Peach and Alex Girl. I'm saying girl because later we had another Alex guy in the band on the second guitar. Then got rid of all 3 vocalists, including Nico, and replaced all 3 of them by Markus, who ended up being the first real vocalist on recordings.
Ich war absoluter No Roses-Fan und es stand auch in der Anzeige drin, dass sie so Richtung No Roses gehen wollen möchten und ich fand das relativ interessant so und habe mich dann halt gemeldet.
Markus was a really cool vocalist in a live environment. He's a very powerful performer and he's, you know, this big tattooed guy and he just has this aura of power to him somehow.
And then we fired our drummer Ulf and went back to rehearsing with the drum machine for a long time just because we didn't find an appropriate replacement. And at that time, Gunther quit the band as well. And Gunther had been kind of like my main creative partner in the band. Like, he was really involved with everything. We shared a lot of common visions. And that was a moment when motivation really came to a low.